Hi, Frank. Welcome to It Just Takes One.
Thank you for having me, Kelly.
It's great to have you on. For those of you who don't know Frank, Frank Pucher is the owner of Fitness One-to-One Personal Training Studio in Roseland, New Jersey. And you might hear a little bit of the New Jersey accent in his voice, so I feel like I need to just put that in there as fair warning.
Hey.
Frank and I have known each other for almost 10 years now, actually. We started together in the Todd Durkin Mastermind Group back in 2009, and we now both coach for Todd in the Mastermind Group. So I'm sure some of that will come out as we talk, but I'm really excited to have him with us today because he is a brand new author. And I'm very excited to talk to him about what it meant to him to write a book, to publish a book, and what that whole process has been for him. So Frank, thanks for being on.
Listen, Kelly, first of all, thank you. It's, as anyone who knows you and I knows, you're one of my favorite people. So anytime I get to spend with you is always time well spent and usually the highlight of my day. So I'm happy to be here and honored to be in your presence as always.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And the same back to you. So Frank, tell the audience a little bit about you, about Fitness One-to-One, and how you even got into personal training way back when.
My journey into fitness isn't really all that different than a lot of others. I was a college graduate, not really sure what I was going to do going forward, but fitness was always something that was around me because I was a college athlete. And after spending several years as a fitness instructor at a big box gym, a personal trainer in a small studio, I took my first leap into entrepreneurship in 1996, basically going in and out of homes training people. And after several years of that led to studio ownership, eventual relocation of my business. And the last 10 years of my career have really taught me the most valuable lessons, largely because of some of the adversity that was faced. Obviously, you learn a lot more through adversity than you do success, but really just some of the contacts and connections, you amongst them, that I've met as a result of being in the mastermind. And I always credit the mastermind with so much of what I'm doing right now because, as a coach, I learn from not only my own failures and successes, but I get the opportunity every day, every week, every month to listen to up to 100 other fitness professionals from around the country share their failures, their successes, their struggles. And so I've had the ability over the last couple of years to kind of collate a lot of these ideas, a lot of these lessons learned. And, I'm at that phase of my career now where I want to start to share all that so that other personal trainers or fit pros can sort of shorten their learning curve along the way.
And I think that is, the book, as we talk about that, we'll talk about some of the ways that you're sharing those lessons. But let's just go back for a moment. You mentioned the mastermind. It's how you and I connected. And I don't know about you, but oftentimes when I tell people that I'm in a mastermind, coaching in a mastermind group, they are very curious about what that means, what it is. You and I joined back in 2009 for our own reasons. Why don't you share a little bit about why you joined the mastermind and what you see the mastermind to be in your life?
Why I joined the mastermind versus what the mastermind is are two very different things. I joined the mastermind in 2009, quite honestly. I was looking for divine intervention. I was just at a place in the business where I didn't know if my business was going to survive the next 6 to 12 months. I wasn't even sure how I was going to be able to afford joining the mastermind, but I knew that I needed to do something. So it was almost like a last grasp. And I didn't get divine intervention, but what I did get was probably more valuable in that I learned a series of lessons that I otherwise just wouldn't have learned. I learned that sometimes we are our own worst enemy, whether that's our own fears, our own ego. I got a crash course in leadership. I was a reluctant leader in my business for a number of years. I take ownership of the fact that despite the economy in 2008, 2009, it was really the lack of leadership that caused my business to struggle as much as it did. So, I joined the mastermind probably for all of the wrong reasons, but I got all of the right lessons out of it. And how I would define the mastermind today is, I think the mastermind, and you and I just had this conversation recently, I think the mastermind it's a program that helps individuals develop best practices in business and life. And it's held accountable through both not only a coach, but a collective sharing of ideas with like-minded individuals. So, I think the mastermind program, it's a personal and business development program. The mastermind is not, in my opinion, a how-to program. It's a how can I program. So, that what if somebody would have sold it to me like that on day one, I probably would not have joined. But you know what? I've always believed that water finds its own level. We not always the most direct route, but we always end up where we're supposed to be. And I found myself at the right place at the worst time, and I find myself here today. You know what? Just again sharing those lessons so that other people can benefit from not only what my experiences have been, but what are some of the lessons based on the experiences I've been exposed to.
And so much of the book that you just wrote is about some of those lessons you learned and how you're sharing those with people that want to read the book.
Mm-hmm.
I think that back in 2008, 2009, a lot of things were happening financially in our culture and certainly in our businesses. Obviously, you just mentioned it's why you began in the mastermind, but talk a little bit about that adversity. I think sometimes people look at us where we are right now and think, oh, they're successful. Everything's gone so well for them. They'll never understand the hardships that I'm having or the financial distress that I'm in. Share a little bit more about where you were back then and some of the challenges that you were facing.
Well, I'll rewind it slightly before that. When I started my brick and mortar business in 1998, from 1998 to 2008, the worst possible thing happened. And that was that we made money every year and our revenues grew every year. Now, someone might ask the question, say, well, how could making money be a problem? And the answer to that is when the money you're about to lose is greater than you expect or greater than you're prepared for. And what really happened with me was in 2008, I had a house built, so I took out a $500,000 mortgage, had that, and of course the bank was more than happy to give it to me. I owned a business, we had growing revenues, excellent credit. Less than a year later, the opportunity to relocate my studio came along, and I went from basically a 2,200 square foot studio to a 4,800 square foot studio in a different building, and decided to get rid of all of the dumbbells and all of the benches and all of the cardio we had, because I wanted to have everything brand new and make a statement, because things were great and they were only going to get better. And took out a $300,000 SBA loan to construct the new studio. And I found myself basically at the end of 2008 with $800,000 worth of debt in my name, and things were fine. But then 2009 rolled along, the economy crashed. We lost a number of clients. I lost 2 trainers. They walked out the door with 2 handfuls of clients, and just hundreds of thousands of dollars just disappeared overnight. And there were weeks in a row, not some weeks, but weeks in a row where I wasn't taking a paycheck. I fell behind on my rent in the business. And for anybody that's at that place in their business, and that's a lot of entrepreneurs, again, as I listen to other people in the mastermind and in the industry, there are a lot of struggling small business owners. They don't wear that externally, but it's going on. And what ended up happening was it finally got to the point where I needed to start making some tough decisions. And I referenced earlier about the importance of leadership. Leaders have to make the tough decisions sometimes. So I needed to have some difficult conversations with my team. I need to have some difficult conversations with my spouse. I need to have some difficult conversations with my landlord, difficult conversations with the banks. And not everybody was going to be agreeable to what I was proposing, but I needed to have those difficult conversations. And as the next 12 to 18 months came along, we started to pull ourselves little by little out of that hole. And really by the end of, I'd say 2010, probably 2011, 2012, we got back onto a positive foot, and we've just had great momentum ever since. My business runs very smoothly now, and you're right, Kelly. People may look at my situation, my business, and say, wow, I'd love to have a business like that right now. I wouldn't have the business I have today had it not been for the adversity I went through. And trust me, when I was going through that in 2009, and I'll never forget those weeks, there was no end in sight, in my opinion. And I'm an optimist. But there was, I started thinking I'm going to lose the house. I'll go work. That was my optimistic view. I said, hey, I'll rent an apartment and I'll go work for somebody else. So I was optimistic. I mean, I said, I'll land on my feet. But we were that close to it. And I really thought that was going to happen. And what probably wasn't for about a good solid 12 to 16 months before I started to realize, hey, you know what, we might be able to pull this off if we can get a little bit of momentum on our side and a little wind in our sails. So the advice I would give to anybody that is struggling in that way, face reality squarely. Do not try to go through this alone. You've got to have an all-in approach. And again, if you've got a team, speak to your team about the situation. If you've got a significant other, make sure that they understand. If you've got landlords or creditors, trust me, they're going to understand. It's funny. That was a big fear of mine. What are my landlords, and they go through this every single day. And I'm not saying that they don't care, okay? But they will be a lot more understanding if you present yourself truthfully to them than if you try to avoid the situation, because what you resist is going to persist. So, take an all-in approach, face reality squarely, recognize you're not the only one to be in that situation. And you know what? And if you are fortunate enough to be a part of a mastermind team, surround yourself and lean on your teammates, because some of them may be in that situation as well. And together you're stronger than if you try to go it alone.
That little segment right there was so full of nuggets that I hope if you're listening, you took out your pen and paper and wrote down some of those little bullet points that he just gave, or go back and rewind and hear that. There was so much information given right there. So much of those lessons that you learned, Frank, may have stemmed from the adversity that you experienced. And is that part of what prompted you to write this book?
The book has been on my mind for a while, and I really don't know what the genesis moment was where I said, this is going to be it. But I've long known for several years now, even as far back as the Naples retreat you and I had, Fit Pros have a very difficult time thinking about money. I think a lot of Fit Pros, when they're developing their business plan and they're budgeting, they budget for survival. They don't budget how to thrive in their lives. It's almost like they say, here's how much I need to pay myself or pay my rent. Are you budgeting? You're never going to exceed the ceiling of your expectations. So I want people to reach more and dream bigger. And so that was the beginning, I think, of it for me. And then over the last couple of years, as a mastermind coach, watching different Fit Pros struggle and go through different forms of adversity financially, I started thinking to myself, wow, if only they would have known about this, if only they would have been prepared this way. And I just started, saying the first rule of money is don't lose money. And I see that a little bit of proactiveness could have helped prevent a lot of pain for a lot of people. And then over, again, the last probably several years, since financially things have really turned around for me, what's been on my mind now is how do I grow my money? And that's just not a conversation that a lot of Fit Pros are comfortable having. It's certainly not a part of our continuing educational dialogue. And to be honest, I've probably out of fear, but although my theme at the beginning of this year was fearless. And I just decided that this year I was going to do those things that I've been afraid of doing. And writing the book was one of them. And I was almost embarrassed, if I'm being honest, that nobody else in the industry has filled this space. And I've been looking around saying, like, it's almost like when the teacher asks, does anyone have a question? Everyone looks around to see, like, who's going to be the first one to put their hand up. I'm just assuming it's going to be someone other than me. And it just got to the point where I said, the gap is so wide. No one is willing to fill that space. I hope that what I provide is enough, but I've got to begin filling in that space because too many people are falling into the pit holes of finances. And I just, as someone who wants to serve the industry, I just couldn't sit by anymore.
And you're speaking of it in terms of the fitness industry, which is what we're in. But truthfully, this is outside of the industry as well. I actually had lunch with a friend of mine today and was telling her I was going to be doing an interview with you this afternoon. And she said, oh, is that a book that we could use? And she's in a completely different industry in education. So I think money is a topic that tends to be the white elephant in the room. Mm-hmm. And I am so excited that you're the one that's going to start pushing that elephant out the door in the fitness industry for sure. And
that's quite a visual.
I know it is. It is. Take that elephant by the tail. So the book is called Smart Money Moves. And tell us a little bit about the process of actually putting this book together and going through the whole process of writing and publishing this book. How has that worked for you?
Well, I mean, it probably began well over a year ago. I've been kind of jotting down some notes, and throughout the last year, I've probably been threading out either on social media or perhaps in an article or a response in my mastermind, the framework of this book, certainly some of the key messages. And a little over a year ago, I presented at IDEA PT East, and I presented on Smart Money Moves. And the book is actually a deeper look at that presentation, but the presentation itself had a lot of the flavor of what I'm talking about. Just some of the anecdotes are a little deeper and a little more specific in here. But, you know, as I started to, as many Fit Pros do, is, gather all of these notes on a subject I was passionate about, it came to me that I said, I might have a book here if I could only get myself organized. And you and I had a conversation sometime in December talking about big five for the year and goals. And I said, I think in, 2018, I'm going to write a book. And you said to me, you've got 4 months. And so I was down in Miami for Christmas and New Year's. And I remember saying to myself, all right, as soon as I get back from Miami, I'm going to start working on this. And I literally woke up New Year's Day, and I said, fear less, this is the year. This is the time. So I opened up my laptop and I just started writing. I just started looking at my notes and organizing them. And I just literally wrote every morning. I think the book, the main body of it took me about 10 or 11 days. And I wrote every morning for anywhere from 20 minutes to maybe an hour and 20 minutes. I didn't sit there all day long, and I didn't, write and then close it and then go back to it. So I wrote until whatever I got done, my thought process just kind of came to the end of the road. I closed my laptop, looked at my notes, and then the next morning went back at it. And so that part was pretty easy. I will say, the process with you and Greg at Scripter Publishing has been it's been the more difficult part. Not you guys could not be easier to work with, but it's been the difficult part because now it's like all of a sudden it's like you're waiting and things have to get edited and things have to get laid out. So believe it or not, the writing of the book is the easy part. That's almost like, now it's like the waiting is the at least for me, is the frustrating part. But the process with you guys is, like I said, could not have been easier. And what I would say is, for you and I, it's been, as always, a great partnership because I'm an idea person. I am not great with details. You have tremendous attention to the details. So for me to just say to you, hey, here's everything I've scribbled down for the last 10 or 11 days, make a book out of this. And for you guys to break it up and lay it out and go through the formatting and the editing and helping to design the cover and the layouts it's been all in all, looking back, it's been an incredibly fast process. It's been a fun process. And the next 48 to 48 hours or so are going to be even more exciting as we get ready for the launch. So I'm very much looking forward to discussing this and sharing this with people once they get it in their hands.
Do you remember when we were young, there was a commercial on TV for the Heinz ketchup or Hunt's ketchup? I don't know which one it
Mm-hmm.
was.
It
And
was
it was
hot.
that
It was the
anticipation
Heinz ketchup.
and the little kids waiting for the ketchup to come and it's not
Yeah.
coming. And then it comes and it looks so great and delicious.
Mhm.
That's exactly the stage that you're in. It's that anticipation
Yeah.
because it's been off your desk for a while.
Mhm.
You wrote it and it's been out of your hands for a bit, but today you actually had the moment when that brown cardboard
Mhm.
box showed up at your door. Talk about that.
It's funny is I went up to the front desk and there was a like you said a brown box up at the front desk and so I opened it up. I mean, I knew what it was, and I opened it up, and so I'm holding it in my hands. I'm looking at the front cover, and I'm looking at the testimonials and the back cover, and I'm going. I smelled it. It smells good, guys. It smells good. I licked it. It tastes good. But it's a little surreal. It's a little surreal because 2 years ago I wouldn't have thought I would have gotten this done. And it doesn't seem like that long ago that I woke up on New Year's Day. I had a cup of coffee, sitting next to me, and I just started typing away, on my computer. So it's it's a lot of fun. And now it's like just waiting for the actual published version to come in. This is the proof, and the proof itself looks great. But to actually have the finished product and start thinking, who am I going to send it out to? It's a lot of fun. And I started thinking about that today. I went to the pool to go for a swim after I looked at the proof, and I started thinking to myself, all right, who are the people that wrote testimonials for me, and who are the people that I acknowledged in the book? I want to send them a copy, and then I'm on my social media as I'm reading everybody saying I'm so excited, I can't wait to buy it, and it's an exciting time because to me, and again, it's the fearless. I think a lot of fit pros always maybe have the idea of writing a book, but they have that fear of saying like, is what I have to contribute or offer enough? And it's one of those things where I think the excitement around the book right now is it's making me feel really good that I recognize that there is a need for a book like this in the industry. I don't know if there's another need for another abs book or a kettlebell book, but there's definitely a need for something that helps people live a better life other than through fitness. And money is one of those vehicles like fitness that helps people live better lives. And the irony is that fit pros aren't living their best life largely because of a lack of money.
Yes. And at one point in the book, you actually speak to that where you say, fit pros don't necessarily get into the business because they're going to make money. They get into the business because they want to help people get better in their life. They want to help serve people. And because of that, they tend to put money as an afterthought instead of a driver. And that can backfire a lot of times.
Absolutely. Again, I think it's the scarcity mindset. There's the lack mindset. Very few people go into the fitness industry saying, my goal is to, I want to make $1 million. And I'm not saying that necessarily should be the goal, but why not? I think that, the benefits of fitness are certainly worth $1 million. And it just comes down to, do you have the ability to think on a level such as that? And if you can't, it's tough to get there.
It is. And, as much as the health is priceless, we're helping people get healthy. And what is the price tag on that? There's also that investment idea that the people that we're investing our time in and that are investing their time with us are worth more than we're allowing them to be worth as well. And so there's lots of components to that money piece. So if you were talking to somebody who wants to purchase your book, and you wanted to just give them a little summary or a couple, 2 or 3 ideas from the book that you think would be takeaways that they could look for, what would you say to them? What would you share?
Well, I'd say the first thing is, start to become somewhat knowledgeable. Develop a basic knowledge or an understanding of the principles of money. Money is not something to be feared. And so start to familiarize yourself with some basic terms and understand. It's amazing how many people just have no clue with regard to their finances. Perhaps if you're listening to this, maybe you've got, parents, maybe your mother says, oh, I leave, your father takes care of that. But I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. It's one of those things where I think people need to own a little bit of knowledge and education with regard to, their own finances. But, I think some basic takeaways that I've learned and I try to put into the book, the importance of, I think, living simply. It's, I don't want to, get sentimental, but it's not what's in your life. It's who that's in your life that matters most. I think, obviously, a rule of finance has always been or financial education has always been to save a percentage of all that you earn. A percentage of all that you earn is yours to keep. It requires tremendous discipline to pay yourself first, but the benefits of that are priceless. And even though this isn't necessarily, and you touched on this a minute ago, Kelly, it might not be a direct money concept, but the importance of investing in your health cannot be understated. And the importance of investing in your own personal development. In the book I talk about, there's one investment that has been proven to give you a 3,000% return on investment. And that's you investing in your own personal development. And it's nothing has the earning potential that you do. Not Bitcoin, not Microsoft, there is no speculative currency or any equity that, is going to return what you're capable of delivering to yourself. So I think, those are just 3 very simple things, but, I tried to break the book down into 3 areas, as how do you minimize the risk of losing money in your life and your business? How do you make money in your fitness business? And then let's say you are making money in life, either as an employee working for somebody or as a business owner. How do you continue to grow that? And then how do you protect that growth along the way? So, and obviously, I was careful to stay in my lane in the whole book, but, along the way, when it comes to issues of contracts or insurance or investing, I've shared my 20 to 25 years of personal and professional experience and some of the lessons that I've been exposed to, but, speak to somebody who's a professional in this area. To certainly somebody who has a much better understanding of your unique situation and your personal goals. So, again, become better educated in the area, live simply, save a percentage of all that you earn, invest in yourself, your health and your personal development, and, work with qualified professionals as needed in various areas. That would be the advice I would give to anybody.
Which, again, I hope you guys are taking notes and have some bullet points there as well. And I'm sure people are wondering how they're going to fill in the gaps between all those bullet points, because people want to know more and they want to learn more. And this is a really good book for you to get started, whether you're in the fitness industry or just an entrepreneur on the outside in another industry. These tips could be used for anyone who's looking to earn, grow, and protect their money. Just to let you know, it's actually going to be available on Amazon starting next week, which from here will be April 3rd. Tuesday, April 3rd is when it launches. And so you can check it out on Amazon. Smart Money Moves by Frank Pucher. I want to call you Dr. Frank.
Dr. Frank.
Before we wind this up, Frank, I just want to end with one additional thought. The name of this podcast is It Just Takes One. And I explain what that means to me at the beginning of every episode. But I'm just curious, when I say it just takes one, what does that phrase mean to you?
God, that's such a deep question. And there's so many, you know, you can answer that so many different ways depending upon where your mindset is at the moment, what your focus is. But for me today, it just takes one. I'm going to say it takes one why. I think when you've got that one strong why in your life, then any how becomes possible. So for me, it's about you need one, it just takes one why to make things possible.
I love that. I love that. Well, again, thank you. It's always a pleasure to get a chance to talk with you anytime that we do. And I appreciate you coming on the show.
I always love spending time with you. You know that.
And I look forward to getting the book in my hands, and all of you listeners, go out and look for it on Amazon next week.